Hi, I'm David Terrace, partner at the Rawson Law Firm. I'm here to talk to you today about the importance of being extremely proactive in hiring an attorney, even if you have not yet been arrested for a crime or even been contacted by law enforcement. There are many reasons why it's important not to speak to law enforcement without an attorney. Law enforcement will very often approach you as if they are your friend, as if they're just trying to get a statement to potentially close out their case, to investigate another individual. They'll often tell you that your role, whatever it may be, was minor, and that you can benefit yourself. That is not true. Law enforcement cannot offer you any sort of deal, any sort of immunity, any sort of non-prosecution agreement. That can only be done by a prosecutor, somebody with legal authority. The police use very manipulative tactics in order to coerce you into giving statements. If you don't have an attorney there to protect you, then you won't know that. You might think that giving a statement to them is totally harmless. Next thing you know, there's an investigation, there's a prosecution, and you've already given up your right to remain silent. Keeping your right to remain silent and exercising your right to counsel is by far the most important thing you can do during the investigative stage of a case, prior to law enforcement contacting you or afterwards. A client of ours very recently reached out to us, was very proactive, and the entire exposure that he faced to criminal charges changed because of that proactiveness. This individual was driving home on an average day with his 5-year-old daughter in the car. He was behind a motorcyclist and, in a very, very traumatic event, witnessed this motorcyclist drive off the road, hit a pole, and unfortunately get in an extremely severe accident. It turned out that this motorcyclist lost his life. What our client did was everything that a good Samaritan should do. He pulled over to the side of the road, knowing that his 5-year-old daughter was in the car. He exited the vehicle, went briefly to check on the individual, noticed that there were several other individuals pulling over, coming to the car, checking on the motorcyclist. He decided, because his daughter was in the car, that he would return to his vehicle. He did the right thing. He called 911. He stayed on scene until they arrived. He saw paramedics arrive, police came, and he left the scene. He did what any good Samaritan would do. Next, several days later, on his way to work, he's driving into the office with his wife and notices that there's an undercover police officer tailing him. He's not sure why, but very, very intelligently decided to contact the Rawson Law Firm. He called me. This was about 6 a.m. in the morning. I picked up and he said, "David, there's somebody behind me. I think it's an officer. What's the best thing for us to do? Okay? Do I need an attorney at this time? Should I speak to this officer?" I told him, "You absolutely, under no circumstances, speak to this officer. If they're going to contact you, if this individual is going to attempt to pull you over, you call us first. Okay? Do not speak under any circumstances." Not everybody makes that move. Some people think that this is related to the accident. I'm being a good Samaritan. I must just be a witness here. I don't have any exposure. However, what he didn't know is that this detective, Sherry Slagle Grant, was investigating our client for vehicular homicide. She reached out to him, she approached him at his office and said to him, "I would just like you to come in and give a statement. Okay? We believe you might have been a witness to an accident." Law enforcement can be very, very manipulative. You need experienced attorneys like us in order to sift through when they are generally trying to just have you give a witness statement or whether you might actually be a suspect. Because our client contacted us, we did not allow our client to go in and give a statement without his attorney present. As it turned out, as we did our investigation, we found that this detective, Sherry Slagle Grant, was actually investigating him for vehicular homicide, and he was a suspect. He went in, gave a voluntary statement with us present, and then the next day, we're contacted by the detective. The detective reached out, and she said, "I need your client to be at our office, the detective's office, within 1 hour. We have a search warrant for his vehicle." I told the detective that 1 hour was not sufficient notice. Can we have more time? The office was not nearby. She said, "No, you have 1 hour for yourself and your client to meet us at her office." I called my client and I told him, be extra vigilant. I am going to go with you there to make sure that nothing occurs, that they do not question you, that you remain silent, that we did everything on our end and we're proactive to make sure to prevent any kind of criminal exposure. What we didn't know, because of Detective Sherry Slagle Grant's extremely inappropriate actions, was that the entire time she was waiting right outside of our client's home. She called us in an attempt to coerce and to mislead our client into going on his own, okay, so she could make her job easier. Right. If this individual had not had an attorney, his car could have been searched, taken on the spot. We were able to get ahead of that and prevent that and be there for him so that when the warrant was executed, he wasn't in a state of shock. He didn't have his children with him, with his wife in him, and it was a massively less traumatic scenario. This highlights why it is so important that there are good cops, there are bad cops, but no matter what, you have to let your attorney be the one to decide. You have to bring an attorney on soon. At the Rawson Law Firm, we get on quickly, we get on proactively, and we can prevent these situations from happening. One of the most important reasons not to speak to law enforcement without an attorney is because you might think that you're being a good Samaritan in a certain situation, such as our client was, by stopping, by calling the police, and the next thing he knew, it turned out that he was actually under investigation for vehicular homicide. He would not have known that if not for hiring us, if not for being proactive and calling an attorney. The detective attempted to reach out to him on his own to come in and give a statement. If he had not, going into an office thinking that you are a good Samaritan and that you're just here to help out with the crash investigation, now all of a sudden you're under investigation for vehicular homicide, you can completely expose yourself to severe consequences by giving up your right to remain silent. At the Rawson Law Firm, we come on quick, proactively, and make sure that if, God forbid, the police do contact you or any members of the family, you can tell them we have 3 attorneys, 3 brilliant criminal defense attorneys on our case. We will not be answering any questions, and all communications go through the attorneys and the attorneys alone.